Welcome, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Lee Wanika, and this is Tabletop Journeys, where we will be your not-so-humble guides on the quest for RPG adventures.
All right, welcome everybody to today's episode. Really excited to be sitting across the screen once again from Mr. Lee Wanika Miller, all the way down in Connecticut, while I am much further north from there. And as promised last week when we unboxed the new D&D starter set, tonight we are going to start going through the mission booklets that are in the pack. We're going to touch on all three of them. We're going to touch on the Wilderness tonight, and then as Lee Wanika is showing you, Keep on the Borderlands, and then the Caves of Chaos. Before we dive in here, briefly, overall thoughts on the adventure booklets so far. I will admit, I've read the two that we're going to record tonight. I've read the Wilderness, I've read the Keep on the Borderlands. I have not read the Caves of Chaos yet. So, yeah.
I'm all in. That's my fast track answer. I like what they've got here. This is designed as a starter set. This is designed to teach. It's designed to show you kind of what can be done and how it can be done from both the player and the GM side. And I think from the GM side, that's stuff that wasn't really in earlier box sets by WotC.
Yeah.
Other companies have done a really good job of teaching people how to GM their game. And this, I think, takes some of that work to that next level. I really like the things that are in here and how they give the GM tools. Fabulous job. And we'll dig in when we start talking about it. Try to be as unspoilery as possible, but there are likely to be a few spoilers.
There are going to be spoilers in these episodes. Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be avoidable, honestly, at this point. I don't agree. I'm not sure that this does a good job telling people how to DM. I think that this does a really good job of teaching people how to run the board game that is being labeled as a Dungeons and Dragons, and how to give some mechanical changes or some mechanical options. But I'm not sure it teaches you how to be a good DM.
So I specifically did not add the epithet good GM. I think it teaches you how to GM. Being a good GM is a separate thing. There are bad GMs that know how to GM.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is teaching you how to GM, good or bad. This is, again, going to give you some tools and some techniques to run the 2024 game. I do think it's rather uniquely qualified for this, not as much overall, like here's how you GM any TTRPG. And I'm fine with that. Their job is not to train somebody for somebody else's game, right? But I think they cover this material exceptionally well. And I think that there are things in here and the way it's worded in some sections that really lend themselves to, when you do your own, do something like this. I don't think they teach you how to build your own. I don't think they teach you how to create your own encounters. Those are the hallmarks of that good GM you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they certainly teach you how to run a pre-written adventure. And that's what they're setting out to do. So I think if that was their goal, they have accomplished it excellently.
I think the other thing that I don't see in here is I don't think, maybe let me refine my statement a little bit about whether or not they teach you to be a good GM. They do not teach you how to be a narratively good GM. They teach you how to be a mechanically good GM. And I don't think that those two things are necessarily the same thing, and I don't think that they are going to appeal to the same players.
I think there are spots where they do, and they could go further.
Yeah.
Yes. But I do think there are spots where they do give you that. There's some things in the second book that lend themselves to that are not in the first book.
So I actually thought that the Keep on the Borderlands was worse in that regard than the Wilderness. So yeah, we won't get into that episode. We'll get into that. Here's my other kind of takeaway, is that I understand why they wrote this content to steer people into, sometimes you can be the DM and sometimes you can be the player. I do not think that someone can run this book and have the things in this book that they see and then play in the next adventure. I think that there are unavoidable spoilers in this book that, as a player, would mean that they have more information than the average player. And because specifically in the wilderness, there is a big, big spoiler that is easy to see, that solves the entire campaign that they're putting together here. We'll get to it when we come to it. Yeah. So
we'll get to it when we come to it.
All right.
Because I have thoughts, but I think I will save that till we finish all 3 books.
Yep.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm interested to know what you're talking about.
Yep, fair enough. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in here. So the very first page, I like the way that this is being laid out, where it is at every kind of, not so much encounter, and it's like bigger than an encounter, but not as big as an adventure. It very much kind of lays out like, this is what you're going to need. Here are the things that you're going to want for this particular thing. I liked the way they kind of started to lay out what the wilderness is and how the wilderness works. And I thought that the rest mechanic, where they say you can't take a long rest when you're in the wilderness, that's a very interesting and very flavorful D&D thing that was good to see, right? I think they could have leaned, again, kind of getting into the narrative thing, I think they could have leaned a little bit more into letting DMs know why that is, so that they can figure out a way to relay that to the players, rather than just saying it is true. But beggars can't be choosers.
I thought they did a good job. They said what needed to be said. This is a place that's not safe enough to get the benefit of a long rest. I think that's really all that need to be said. Yeah. Mechanically, it actually holds more weight than the casual player might recognize. But when we talk about the lethality of 5e and how it doesn't exist, it is mostly because of the long rest mechanic.
That's fair. Yeah.
But as set up here, when they say the wilderness isn't safe, wilderness. Yeah. It's not the forest next to your home. It's not the forest in your backyard.
Yeah.
It's not the forest down the road from the park.
Yeah.
This is the wilderness.
Yeah.
Not safe, no benefit.
Yep.
And I think they said quite well. And then they say, however, as long as you lay down for 8 hours anywhere in the keep, long rest.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's actually pretty well done.
Okay. Again, I think it is a good idea to do. I just wish that I had got set up a little bit better. But I also hear you that you think it was sufficient, so that's fine. So, okay. So let's get into kind of the way that these adventure books are going to be laid out as they go region to region. We get the very first page on region 1, which is the trail that runs through the wilderness. And we get this really interesting kind of 2-column layout, which all 3 books begin with, where they tell you how the chapters are going to be laid out on the left-hand side, and then information about them on the right-hand side. It took me a second to actually realize that that's what this was doing, because they don't set that up at all. They don't say, hey, by the way, this is what we're going to do. On the right-hand side of the beginning of every information is information on what we're talking about on the left-hand side. And so I thought that, like a typical D&D book, I read down the left-hand column and then started reading down the right-hand column, only to realize that then I was like, oh, wait, no, these little vignettes correspond to the things on the left-hand side. You know, a great idea that wasn't set up well.
I would point out that the fact that each of those little box text things on the right are numbered, or many of them, and they correspond to a number.
Yep.
And they are mostly directly across or adjacent to what it is. I thought that flowed pretty easily. It didn't even dawn on me that wouldn't be connected.
That is ultimately what made me realize that that's what it was, right? It's like, oh, okay. Like once I realized that, it was easy to see, but when I just kind of started reading down, started reading down the left-hand column, I didn't look at the right-hand column. And so I didn't realize what the right-hand column was until I got there. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But again,
my eyes picked up on the numbers first. Before I picked up on any word, I saw the numbers and I said, why is there a number there that matches there? Then I looked, read that, read the next one, and then I went from there.
Yep.
So it could be just a neuro difference kind
Yep.
of thing. Like
Totally.
I look at a page
Yep.
in a different way than you might. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested in folks listening to the show.
Yeah.
Let us know when you looked at that. What was your first thought?
Yeah.
Did that come across pretty easily to you, or was that a bit of a challenge?
Yeah.
I'm betting Watsy would like feedback on that because they did it for a reason.
They did.
Nobody does layout by accident.
Yeah.
So they had to have thought that this might be easier. And if I pay attention to comments that Justice Armand made on Sean and Teos's show, he was very particular about how many things were done in a specific way because of the way it play tested. And we don't recall him mentioning this at all.
Yeah.
That strikes me as something that was tested.
Yep. Right. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so I guess kind of moving through this kind of on the trail region here, an open-ended question for you. What did you feel about the way that DCs were aligned throughout this first booklet? Did you feel like they were balanced well? Do you feel like they were weird? How do you feel about them?
I have made the comment before on the show that the level of experience of your players will radically alter the type of DCs you need.
Mm-hmm.
The number of players at your table will radically alter the type of DCs you need. Yep. They do go, maybe not in this book specifically, but the one I read most recently was The Keep, but they do go to some detail to let you know how things might change because of the number of players involved or what have you. So I thought this is relatively good for first level characters based on the options that you have at your fingertips with this box set. They left out a couple classes that are not in this box set. So you bring in a paladin, you bring in a druid, you bring in a warlock, you bring in a couple other things with a couple other fancy feats or something like that that are not among the options provided here. You could possibly break or make too easy some of these things.
Yep.
Or you could game yourself out of the ability to do them also, if you chose some radically different options.
Yep.
So I do think it is specifically tuned to the available options. And there are thousands, I wouldn't say countless, but there are thousands of options between all the things you can mix and match to build your characters here.
Yeah.
But I think it works for the character types and generalities that you have involved in this box set.
Yeah. I think in general, so I agree with you. I think in general, the DCs in this first booklet were done well. I would have liked to see, and the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because the very kind of first DC challenge that we get in the trail region is the one where you stumble upon the wagon and try to figure out what's going on with the wagon, right? I would have liked to see a little bit of nuance in the DCs because I felt like the answers that you got from the various skill checks you could do were not of equal import to figuring out what was going on with the wagon, but the DC to see them was the same, right? So, for example, right? So, if you make a DC 13 investigation check, the character deduces that the wagon was ambushed by bandits, right? There's nothing that says what the investigation check reveals that says that it was ambushed by bandits. But that's a lot of information. Like, maybe a DC 13 investigation check is that the wagon was ambushed, and a DC 15 check is that it was ambushed by bandits, right? And then if you look at like a survival check, a DC 13 survival check, the character discovers a striking boot print left by one of the bandits, and the heel is monogrammed with the letter P, right? Again, maybe the 13 is like, oh, that's a fancy boot print, fancier than the driver of the wagon, or fancier, not the same type of boot that a wagon driver would, that sort of thing. And then the 15 says, oh, and there's a monogram in the heel. I would have liked to see a little bit more nuance, and I think that there's a lot of nuance that is stripped out of this.
So here's the thing, Josh, and this is me who constantly says that when we write our stuff.
Yeah.
D&D 2024 does not do that anywhere at any time at any level for any printed product. So stop wanting them to change what they do in that way. You cannot judge this by the thing that we do to make our game special, because we want more than what this game gives. And I would also add that this is a starter set. This is the basics. What you're talking about is a bit of an advanced play.
Yeah.
Now, if they had a box that said, hey, for DMs who want to run this box set for players who know the game well, here's an option, I would be 100% for you. I don't think, as much as I love what you said, and I personally would do that if I'm running this for anybody other than starters. But if I'm at my local library running for 9 and 10-year-olds the first time they're sitting down at the game, I am not doing that.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
From a narrative perspective, I would also say, yes, you have options. Looking for something in one way will likely turn up more and better information than looking in another, even if they are both equally difficult. So I'm fine with them giving you different levels of importance as a result for the same check, because you're doing different things. And that's what makes your character choices, what classes you pick, what backgrounds, what species, all those choices add up to how you interact with this single DC, nice and easy for a new GM, that has different results and a different box text depending on what check you rolled.
I hear you, and it makes my heart sad, and that is all that I will say about that. That's
I will say it and shout it from the rafters. I write all adventures that way. I run anybody who sat at my tables knows that I gradiate up and down. I have a set DC to just succeed. I have what you get when you're 5 over and what you get when you're 5 under. You know? And I do that for a reason, because I believe that that's there. It is not what's good for a starter game. So I like kind of how this is set up pretty well.
All right. I'll let it go. Anything else on kind of this first encounter then, on the trail encounter? I thought it was balanced really well. I thought it was neat. It had some interesting stuff in it. I thought it set up the adventure well. A good opening encounter.
I did want to point out something that is mechanical about this or layout, and shout out to the fantastic job they did laying out this book. Most of the things you're going to come across as far as your encounters are a 2-fold page. So real quick, because I don't want anybody to be able to screen grab and us get yelled at by Watsy, but basically the entire first encounter on the trail encounter is these 2 open pages. So a brand new GM flips to that page, everything for this encounter is on that page. He does not have to flip, provided he has the appropriate cards that it tells you what to get. So the set is designed to make this as easy as possible to run. It tells you what map to use. It gives you an inset GM version of the map, so you can as a GM can see it. It tells you what cards to get, what monster cards to get, what NPC cards to get,
what tokens to get.
It points that out to you as you're going. That's brilliant design to help people learn the game, and I just have to shout that out.
And keeping this to 2 pages is tough.
I won't repeat that diatribe, because that happens with the next encounter. The encounter after that. The encounter after that. And then we're at the end of the book. So that is a superior call out. I wish that is when I said that WotC took starter sets to a new level, that's what I'm talking about. Lots of games do fantastic starter sets, but setting up each encounter so it's all on one page,
so I don't have to turn pages.
Costly from a layout. That's extra pages or extra art in order to make it fit, and then and a lot of extra lifting on your editing team and your writing team to get the word count,
to massage the word count,
specific to that, and still make it clear and easy to run. That's no small amount of effort went into that.
All right, let's move on to the second region here. When you descend into the woods, and you potentially stumble upon the occult ritual, it's kind of your first introduction to the cult of chaos here. I liked this an awful lot. I thought that this again was a really well placed the run-in with the hermit I could have done without, but but in general, this set of encounters I thought was really, really nice. It gets the players involved in the plot before they even know that there's a plot to be involved in. I think that's the kind of thing, it kind of teases what's going on. I like it an awful lot.
Yeah. Without trying to be spoilery about it, and without rehashing old stuff, really well done. Great types of monsters and NPCs and that are used in this encounter.
Yep.
They're perfect for the level we're talking about. They get the point done, and there's really decent instruction in these. I don't know if it's in this one specifically. I have to relook at it, but at various all of these books, you'll see if there's a combat, they will fight. This will fight to the death. If there's a combat, this is not here to die. They will run away as soon as X happens. This, if the players are reduced to 0, they're only unconscious. It's very good about setting that up. And without saying it specifically, this is telling new GMs that not every encounter has to be deadly. Bad guys don't stand around to die all the time. And most importantly, just because all the party falls down doesn't mean that has to be it. There can be a way to keep the story going. TPK, the thing that we all joke about and talk about, I TPK'd my party today, doesn't necessarily mean you killed them. It just means you knocked them out in some cases. And I think they do a good job of telling you when it is a knockout and when it's, they're out to actually kill you.
I think my one quibble in general with the encounters is that I wish that they would go to a different lever for how to scale the difficulty up or down than add monsters or take monsters away. I get it. And again, like, I think that, again, that's going to be one of those things that, like, I just need to sit with because this is a starter set for starter DMs and starter players. I just need to go ahead and sit with that. And they're going to just kind of keep hammering that lever and say, if you want this difficulty harder, do this. Add monsters, take monsters away. Add these specific monsters, take these monsters away. That's the lever. We're going to teach you how to use that lever and get really, really good at using that lever. It would have been nice to see, and maybe in the Caves of Chaos they do. They don't in this one, and they don't in Keep on the Borderlands. It would have been nice to see, have your monsters do this tactically instead. If you're going to add an extra goblin, have them fight as a triad, that sort of thing. It would have been nice to kind of see something other than just add an extra goblin. Again, that's not a major quibble. It is a how do we take this and kind of take it from where it is and just go just a little bit, just a little behind it, just a little, because I think you're right. The bones of a great starter set are here. The bones of a great starter set adventure are in this book, and experienced GMs will look at this and say, "Oh, I know how I can work with this." I think what I want to see is how to go ahead.
I would add weather. I want to make it difficulty.
Absolutely.
More difficult. I'll just add weather.
Environmental considerations, a ton of things.
Let it be muddy, let it be windy, let it be whatever.
All that sort of stuff.
So those are the things that an experienced GM can and would do. If GM who, like, you want to use this, feel free, go ahead with your experienced party just to get them to, so you don't have to start at 3rd level. Give them this to get to 3rd level, right? That's a tried and true tactic. Give them the ability to work things out, get them to feel their characters. When you get into your story, they're ready to rock. You can absolutely do that. But because you're playing with experienced players, you're going to want to ratchet this up. These are challenging encounters for players who don't know encounters. They're not as challenging for people who've been there, done that.
That's fair.
So there might be some other things that experienced GMs or GMs for experienced players might alter. But if everybody's brand new, I think you're fine to run it just as directed. Just know that there's a giant playlist on Tabletop Journeys, our YouTube channel, and on our Spotify channel with all kinds of GM tips,
Yep.
tools,
Yep.
and techniques. So when you've gotten done running this whole adventure and you're ready to start your own or start your first pre-written campaign, we invite you to check out the links below or above or to the side or at the end of the episode, so we can so you can see some of those tips and start filtering those in through your ongoing campaign.
Totally.
But at this stage, I think you're solid.
Learn how to use that lever and get really, really good at that lever before you start adding more levers into the lever box. That's
the minion rules are awesome, but the minion rules are a tweak on this lever. So you got to know this one before the minion rules work really well.
That's fair. Okay. That's fair. I'm not going to say you're right, but that is fair. So,
I know it hurts.
The third region here, the Fens. Of the 4 regions in the wilderness, I loved this one so much. Flock of Sturges is my favorite 80s knockoff band. I love me some lizard folk. I knew I'd get you with that one.
I'm running away from it. So far away. I had to get away.
And I loved the spy campsite in the middle here. Like, this is an adventure, or at least the structure of a series of encounters that I am lifting for my home game, because my home game right now is in the middle of the swamp, being hunted by lizard folk in an area where there definitely would be spies that would be trying to sell the party to the lizard folk. Absolutely. These 2 pages are coming home with me.
Yeah. My love of lizard folk goes back to the first edition adventures with the Lizard King, where I killed my best friends, his little brother Eric, and my buddy Todd. I killed them because they were on a cart. They're all trying to get away from the Lizard King, and the cart got rolled, and Eric and him did not make any of their dex saves and died. It was fun evening down on Willow Pond. I'll leave it at that, but I love me some lizard folk. And viewers, pay attention to our Facebook page and our Discord and our Patreon page. I'm going to throw up some pictures of a lizard folk render and a lizard folk warrior that I painted about a week or so ago.
Nice.
Because I'm building some lizard folk for coming things.
I think that this one in general, this was definitely my favorite of the 4. And I think it was the strongest of the 4 also. I think it was the one that had the most clear kind of encounter structure. I think it had the most clear sort of, it had the coolest kind of features. Like, we had like the how the lizard folk like bury their treasure. And so you can kind of see it poking out from under the mud, but you got to watch out because they're watching you from the reeds, that sort of stuff. Like really great. Really great stuff. Loved it.
Tasty stuff.
Tasty, yummy stuff. All right, and then we get to Region 4, the Tamarack Stand. We don't need to talk about this one at all. Like, we don't need to talk about the giant spiders.
I think we absolutely do.
No, I don't think we need to mention the giant spiders.
You can pay attention to all the aforementioned locations, because I got pictures of some spiders.
Yeah.
That I have recently painted as well.
A good spider encounter gives me the willies when I read it. And this was a good spider encounter. It's a really, really good one. I think the one thing that was
williest of the willies.
Yeah. I think the one thing that was a little weird was the whole pine seed thing at the end there, where like some of them are poisoned and some of them are not. That just kind of seemed like kind of a dash off encounter. It just didn't seem well thought out, kind of well formulated. It was a little too cursory to be valuable. So, but just brilliant. So
I love me a good spider thing, because while I am not nearly as afeared as Josh is about them, they don't necessarily make me comfortable either. I mean, it is what it is. I don't let them crawl on me. But I don't jump out of moving vehicles either. So, it is one of it. I've been painting a lot lately, and I'm going to start to show more and more stuff. But before this came out, I actually was going through my old 1E stuff and grabbing creatures to kind of like fill out all my hordes. So
Yep.
like I've gotten a goblin army, I've got hobgoblins, I've got bugbears now.
Yep.
I'm working on my skeletons and zombies, and I've also started working on my dragons and my spiders and my giants. So all these different things. I'm doing lots of them so I can field lots of things.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, this set comes out, and what do I get? Lizard folk. What have I been working on? Lizard folk, spiders, you know, goblins. That comes up in a while. You know, bandits. I've got a bunch of them that I've got painted up as well. So it's like all the things that I've been doing long before this box set came out, because I just think it's fun to have hordes and be able to field visuals when I'm in person. This is making use of, and it just gave me such joy to know, wow, the last 6 months of painting, I'm going to actually be able to put on the table with a pre-written thing without like getting it after the fact. I think that's just awesome.
I totally agree with you. I am really looking forward to the bit where my home game gets to where they're going, and they find the ruined church that they're going to find, and that it is just crawling with goblinoids, just crawling with them. They're friggin' everywhere, you know. And like they're level 6, so goblinoids are not a big deal for them to go ahead and deal with at this point. There may be some of these goblinoids that are a little bit more challenging than others, but for the most part, a goblinoid is not going to go ahead and give them any trouble. But however, when I drop 50 of them on the table, I think that that's going to have a very tangible effect for them, and I really look forward to that.
I have 2 orders of skinny mini goblins from Dungeon in a Box, so that's somewhere around 30 or 40. I have a goblin army that is about 100. I can field goblins, yo. So, you know, I would never do that for 1 through 3.
Sure.
That's down the road. But
that's tier 2 stuff. So, all right. Moving on here to the way that this booklet ends, probably the most useful 2 pages, I think, in the entire thing. And these are the random encounters that you can fall across in the wilderness when you're there. I want to get my minor quibble out of the way, because I think I don't want it to bog down the discussion of how great these 2 pages are. Here's my minor quibble. There are 273 tokens in the box set. They couldn't give us all of the tokens for all of the named NPCs that they're going to mention in the very first adventure. If you look,
one did they not give us?
If you look, any of them that are marked with a dagger. So if you look, there are no commoners, there are no knights. The karate is not there. There are no, and there's another one. There are no guards, which again, you're going to be running into the keep on the Borderlands. How do you run into the keep on the Borderlands without guards?
Right. The guards is easy, because keep on the Borderlands is not supposed to be combat. We'll talk about that next time. But
right, sure.
That's why you don't need tokens for them if they're not going to be in the conflict.
Well, okay, fine. I will give them a pass on that one. Right. However, you know, we just paid $50 for a box set. You gave me 273 tokens. You gave me 17 Sturges. You gave me 50 coin tokens. You can give me the knight or the commoners that I need to interact with. You could have given me 1 extra sheet of tokens and given me all the people on this page.
I hear your comment, and I've already issued my disagreement, but let's move on. I will simply say this about this page. This is, Josh, you said it's the most useful. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it is exceptionally useful, not just for this book, but for the campaign as a whole, the box set as a whole.
Correct.
Because one of the things I don't discuss here is the idea of this set is not necessarily to do all the wilderness, then move on to the keep. Do all the keep, then move on to whatever.
Right.
In fact, some of the best advice out there has been, and I absolutely, after reading it, concur. I thought it sounded good, and I kind of read this with the mind, is there a better way to do it than that?
Yep.
And there really isn't, which is start your players saying, we're headed to the keep.
Yep.
So we're going through the wilderness.
Yep.
You show them the overall map and say, which way do you want to go?
Yep.
That's the one encounter you get on the way to the keep.
Yep.
When you're done with the keep, or when you're done with that encounter, or on the way to that encounter, like, for example, if they pick the one that's closest, start at the lower end of the map, work your way to the top, right? If they pick the one that's closest, like that way, then you do this, and then you give them a random encounter after that, going to the keep.
Yep.
Or if you pick one that's far, give them the random encounter, then give them the big encounter, then they get to the keep.
Yep.
So their choices matter, but you're basically going to do one encounter, one random, get to the keep. That's your first session.
Yep.
And now you do one or two keep encounters, which will usually send you out back to the wilderness and or the caves. If you're going to the caves, get a wilderness encounter. They're probably going to be too weak to go all the way to the caves. They got to go back to the keep.
Yep.
And again, 1 and 1.
Yep.
So keep hitting these random encounters. So every time they're in the wilderness, they get 1 and 1. By the time they get 4 wilderness encounters, that's a level.
Yep.
By the time they get 4 cave encounters, that's a level.
Yep.
That's the way you do that.
Yep.
And you all the way to your 3rd level. When you finish everything, that's when it's like, okay, maybe I build my own encounter or whatever, my own thing. And and now you're ready to advance into out of this box set and into the wider world of the Player's Handbook, the DMG, and the Monster Manual.
Totally agree, and that's why I think that these are the most useful 2 pages, right? Because you're going to keep coming back to these 2 pages throughout the adventure. Every time you step out of the keep, you're going to run into these 2 pages, and I think that's what really makes it. And they're well done, they're well built, they're small, they're short, they're the kind of thing that you can just kind of throw in and say, oh, you find a sturge feeding on an ogre zombie. And both creatures are hostile towards the characters. Well, guess what? Now you're in combat again, right? So, I think that that's the kind of stuff that is really gonna make this world feel alive. It's not just gonna make it feel like, oh, I can just go from the keep to the caves and not have to worry about anything, that kind of thing. So, yep.
And pro tip that goes a bit beyond the starter set. Keep hold of these 2 pages. Keep them in your DM toolkit long after your party has finished this, because you finish whatever you were doing early, and you need your players to do something so you don't end with another 2 hours left in your slot.
Yep.
Hit one of these.
Exactly.
The players go left instead of right, and you need something to keep them busy for the last 30 minutes.
Yep.
So you can close it out, go home for a week and prepare.
Go study the next cave map. Yeah.
All the heavy lifting has been done for you.
Yep. It's fantastic.
Use these 2 pages. Get up, get at it.
Yep.
Roll some dice.
So. All right, everybody. That is our episode for tonight. We are going to be back next week talking about Keep on the Borderlands, and then after that, by all markings and indications, Mr. Michael Ross will be back when we go ahead and sit down to go ahead and talk about the Caves of Chaos. So that'll be a good time. It'll be great to have Michael back. Glad to hear that his recovery is going well. So please, if you have any questions or any feedback on some of the wackadoodle statements that I made tonight, please feel free to go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. We would love to go ahead and hear from you, as always. And as we've been kind of teasing out to our Patreons lately, this would be a really good time for folks out there that are fans of Tabletop Journeys and, the work that we do. This would be a really opportune time for you to go ahead and go check out our Patreon. And even if you don't want to become a paid member, please become a free member, because you still get the, you may not get all of the fun stuff, but you certainly get the announcements about the fun stuff that's coming. So that's at www.patreon.com/TTJourneys. We'd love to see you over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, sir. I will see you momentarily so that we can go ahead and talk about Keep on the Borderlands. Everybody else out there, we will see you next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care, and we'll be back next week with Keep on the Borderlands.
Have a good night, all.